soaring along a lighted path. Round me the gods and angels smiled as I sailed past, ascending higher and higher and a lighted ceiling through which my mind did shoot, bursting beyond all limits to the absolute, ascending higher and higher.
Good morning. So we are talking today the same topic, the same old topic, and that is about loving God. We have got a very long list of wonderful sayings and teachings and the illustrations from the life stories of the great teachers who are teaching us the same thing, that love God with all your heart and mind and soul and strength. Just now we chanted from Sri Chaitanya's prayer, the chant the name of the Lord with all your heart and soul and His glories. That means love God with all your might. That was what he was saying. And then we see scriptures say like that in Bhagavad Gita, after almost entire messages that come in Bhagavad Gita at the end of the last chapter, then the Lord almost gives the conclusion that it is me, it is God who is residing in every heart, and all the actions that they are doing, it is actually I am making them do that way. So what you can do is that you just forget about everything, love me wholeheartedly and surrender yourself to me, and that's it. That is all about it. So the sum and substance of all the teachings is like that. We find that Jesus Christ says that a famous saying, that love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. Everything that you have got within you, many different faculties, with all of those strength and ability, you just love God. That is His message. That means the substance of His message. He has spoken in many different ways to inspire us, to guide us. But this is a very central thought or idea we find. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, there is an entire book is only dedicated, devoted to that alone. He talks about how to love God, and that is all he is seeking, searching, requesting, pleading, helping, inspiring, explaining further by himself doing the prayer, that what kind of love of God it should be. What does that mean? He says, like a child, you love God, surrender yourself at the mercy and will of the divine, and like a child remain carefree and happy. He says that people shed tears a lot for their spouse, their children, their family members, for money, but you should shed tears for God, to see God, and with your that sincerity of your love and your devotion, you do that. This is all that we are hearing from everywhere, that love God. Sri Ramakrishna says that cry for Him, go to solitude, cry for Him. If you can cry for 7 days, even for 3 days, at least for 1 day, cry for Him, shed tears in solitude, seeking His vision that you want to see God, why you are not able to. And we find in his own life story that yes, that was what he was doing. So he was talking from his first-hand feeling. It is not that he was talking something because it is written in the books. We understand that. But when we look back within ourselves, do you think that is what you can do or you are doing? That you go into solitude and you are crying? Genuine cry, it should not be genuine cry, it should not be a glycerin inflicted tears should come out from here. Are you genuinely feeling like that? As Sri Ramakrishna said, like squeezing a wet towel, the heart should have that kind of a feeling of a pain, anguish. Why I am not able to see, Lord, you even after such a long time. And with that anguish and that kind of a pain in your heart, could you cry out to God? No. The answer will be no. That is the problem. There is a problem there. There is this solution is given, that solution, oh, you are a religious person, you have come to the temple, to church, and you are seeking God. You are a devotee. Devotion means loving God. That is the meaning of devotion. And loving God, so you love God with all your heart and your soul and strength and your mind. You only serve Him and you love Him alone. That is the sum and substance of all the teachings from the great ones. And then we see in their own life, those who are talking like that, that yes, that is what they were doing, so this is genuine thing. But then when we try to apply it within our own self, then we find dryness there. We don't see that there is a sincere cry is coming out, welling out from our own heart, and tears are rolling through our eyes. No. So there is a serious problem. How to proceed then? How to love God? That is the question that we shall take up today. There was a famous theologian in the Catholic Church. His name was St. Thomas Aquinas. He had authored famous books which are considered as the important doctrinal book. Summa or Summa it is called. He was born Italian in 1225 and he lived a 50 years life and passed away in 1275. So he was writing his Summa, all the different kinds of guidelines for the devotees to follow, how to be a sincere seeker, lover of God. What are the doctrinal things, do's and don'ts? What is right, what is wrong? How should you live your life? For all he was preparing a very intelligent, well thought of a document that became the time-tested theology of the church. So it was a very valuable thing he was preparing, and at one point of time, after he has done a big work on this Sama, he was in Naples. He was already a very respected church leader. He was leading the Mass in the celebration of Saint Nicholas's birthday. It was Saint Nicholas Day in Saint Nicholas Church in Naples. And at the almost end of the Mass, he had some great vision, experience, spiritual realization, something. Whatever he saw, he completely became silent after that. And he went into absolute silence. Nothing writing, no more doctrines coming out, because whatever he was working on, it was being also explained, told to others, and people were waiting for more writing to come up. Everything came to a stop and stand still. And then when he was asked repeatedly, he kept silence. Then after several days of that silence, then he was able to speak, and he said that whatever I saw, after seeing, he said, I realized that whatever I have been writing and whatever I have understood and I have been trying to explain were mere chaff. They were just nothing. They were the husk. The reality, the substance, is way different, way wonderful, way more enjoyable, and way more attractive. That is what he meant. And after saying that, he again went into complete silence. And he lived in that silence for several weeks. Only after that he could be released from that state of his mind, which was full of joy and full of loving emotion for the Lord. That Thomas Aquinas, when he was asked that what is the way to love God, how should he love God, his answer was very brief, curt, simple, but very deep meaning. He said, will to love God, he said. He said, will to love God. That is something interesting. That you have to will that you want to love God. If you try to analyze this thing, that why it should be that, then we find that loving God is not so simple and easy, as I began my talk. That yes, we hear about this message and teachings again and again from all the different sources, that you need to love God, and this is the way to love God. And we see the example from the exemplary life stories of these great ones and saints. And then still when we look at our own end, we find that that is not happening. It is not, as they say, it is not working. It is not happening. Tears are not coming out unless it is artificially made. So it is not a genuine urge or love or that absolutely heightened level of emotion felt there in the heart. Why it is so? Because we know that this love, what we understand, is about two different ways we feel it. There are two things that we can love. We can love things and we can love persons. There are two different ways we have actual experience of love. So when we say that love God, we have to understand it in terms of these two areas that we really know about what is the meaning of loving. We cannot all of a sudden jump into something which really is not known to us. So how to love God? We try to equate with this, that we love things. How we love things? We love things because when we start coming in contact with things, we start understanding those things more and more, gradually better. In-depth understanding makes us more interested in those things. And then we start loving it. Unless we understand things, we really don't love it. A child will not love a piece of gold or diamond because there is no clarity or understanding in the mind of the child going on. But a person, as he grows up in terms of valuation and the meaning and the effect of that particular thing that can bring to me, that is about in-depth understanding. More we understand thing, the thing becomes more attractive or interesting. We call it love. For example, see about the love of an astronomer who perhaps months and years is spending a sleepless night stargazing. It is not a mere secular act, it is an act of genuine love for it. The person perhaps is totally lost in the world of the cosmos and the space outside and many different things. This love for things is developed gradually. And this is all about knowing things more deeper. More we know, more we feel interested, more we get excited about it, and we love to go further deeper and we get connected with it. A piece of art in Dali Museum. If you have no idea about art, you really don't understand what it is and why it should be painted in that way, you really don't love it. And there will be others who have gone deeper into the meaning and all sorts of many different explanations, and further who has got understanding, deep understanding, and therefore they love it. They return back to the same painting again and again. So there is a kind of love that is generated or developed with the help of in-depth understanding. Unfortunately, we may not have that kind of in-depth understanding of God at the present moment that we are standing now. Who has got that good understanding, in-depth understanding, the secret of or about God, how much you know about nothing. People start from completely blank slate, almost. They have got a vague idea about what is God and what is not. And it is when you try to go into the theological explanation of God, you might get more confused actually. So intellectual analysis of God it may not bring you a love of God, to the stage of love of God. It might have a little bit of the surface scratching in terms of understanding the real or inner meaning of what you are looking for. All sorts of different kinds of analysis of God or description of God, when it is done intellectually, they fail to make you fully convinced and fully understood. It remains beyond the reach. That is what in the Upanishad and other places they say, that the mind cannot reach there and words fail to describe it. Senses and the mind and the intellect, they are just helpless to fathom the depth of the mystery of that which we call God. So, we cannot love God as we can love things or objects in the world. The other kind of love, we understand that we love persons, which are not things, which are persons. We love persons because we are touched by the persons. We call it feeling. Feeling. We have a different kind of an experience. It is not about the material value or in-depth understanding that is our primary source of interest for a person. It is about a different value. It is about an emotional aspect of it. We get touched by people, and then perhaps we think that we understand that people, and then we say we love that person. But this kind of love, this kind of affection may be short-lived. More we understand, more we realize that our previous understanding or assessment was incorrect. So the love might get snapped, our affection may dry up. This kind of loving people and person has got this risk always associated with it. But as they say that men are gregarious creatures and they need social environment, they cannot live by themselves. So out of our need or necessity, we feel like we need to try again in many of the cases. And then we try to re-evaluate about our judgment about the person or try to understand better. And with our persistence and our continuously trying, we might have the success of finding the reason why your previous assessment or understanding about the person, the second assessment I mean, was also incorrect. And there are more areas and more aspects in the person that might interest you, and you might regain love for the person. So loving person is another area which is about feeling. The loving things, objects in the world is one area where you need understanding. More you have rational understanding, clarity of understanding, more you are interested or you are attracted and you call it, you love the thing. whole lot of areas are there. We call them different subjects in which people really fall genuinely, deeply interested. They love those areas. And then there are things, and those are the things they love only them that really understand them. So it is depending on understanding things more, better, deeper. And then there is another aspect of our love that we really, genuinely fall in love of people. And as I mentioned, it is a dynamic equation. It is not one way, just keep going and intensifying only, which is about the knowing things and understanding things. There, the love is in one way, it keeps growing. But in human love, it snaps and we spun again and snap again and spun again, and it is something like a spider web. We keep going. Here the human love, the social fabric has the nature of his web, where we, like a spider, we keep trying again and again. If you have seen how the spiders, they create their spider webs, then now and then they fall down. Again they climb back and again they try. This way, human affection that keeps going and maintained. Can we love God also in that way? There is a problem, because in the human affection, there is always a need for a reciprocal or a return love. There is always there. It is never so that in human relationship, we shall continue to love somebody from whom we never expect anything in return. It will be absolutely non-existent or impossibility. In human love, we always are expecting a return love or a kind of a return gesture or feeling. If it is like a piece of wood or a piece of stone, then that is not human love that we are talking about. It could be an artwork. So in human love, there is always these things going on. One is that there is a very dynamic evolution going on, understanding, re-evaluating, misunderstanding, snapping the ties, again reweaving it, again going on, and trying to further understand, and with patience and with persistence, when we continue, then there is a possibility that we can create a strong bond, and that could be a lasting for the lifetime. It is possible. Provided the object of love or the person of love also has got some amount of reciprocal love and a return for you or the person who is loving. In case of loving God, we really don't have that opportunity. Loving God has no such opportunity that you can have this slowly growing love, hate, more love, intensified love, better understanding, more loving, hating, snapping the relationship, again weaving back, etc., etc., and expecting reciprocal love from God. There is a famous saying by the famous Western philosopher Spinoza. He said that whoever expects to love God must not expect love back from God. If you hope to love God, then you should start with this understanding or presumption that you don't hope any love from God back, because it will be absolutely impractical. You will be disappointed. That was his concept. I am not talking about the religious great teachers who talk in a different language. I am talking in terms of the Western philosophers. So when we try to love God and we try to see in the light of these two different kind of love that human nature is capable of loving, then we cannot put God in either of these two classifications. We neither can have enough understanding about God that we absolutely love God, or we cannot have the relationship with God spun in a way where you are feeling the warmth of the reciprocal love from God towards you. Not so easily. Not that it is not possible. As we are talking about this St. Thomas Aquinas, he had no idea or no such experience before that particular experience when he had. Until then he did not. But after that he had a different kind of a feel, the glow or the warmth of the meaning, in-depth understanding and the genuine feel of love of God or the meaning of God. And that is a different world outright. For a person who has not reached there, how does he start at all? That is the question. Where to start? And that is what this meaning of this answer that was given in this simple statement by Thomas Aquinas, that you have to start to will to love God. That is the start. Because a human nature has got these three faculties. Human nature, it is made of these three faculties. One is about your intellectually understanding things. This is one faculty. Another faculty is about feeling with your heart. Most of the people, they live within these two areas. They try to understand things and they try to feel and they try to go further on. But there is this third faculty, which is the most valuable and potent and powerful, but not so much utilized faculty within human being, human nature, that is the will, the faculty of will. I'm not going into that detail where we have been discussing. Among the dualistic religion, there is a very popular and favorite topic that you don't have any will. God alone wills. Only whatever God wills, you have to accordingly act and do. You don't have any free will. This is the powerful message in the path of devotion, the dualistic path. But then there is also this side of the story of that idea of individual will, or we can call it free will, that something you are carrying all the time with you, without which you cannot live your life. Everything you are doing, you are planning, tidbit of your life, and you are going according to those plans, without knowing that this is God's will that's happening. to you without knowing, without feeling it. In fact, you are not feeling God at all. You are trying to understand how we can have the understanding of God or feel of God or love God. But many a times you are actually acting with your own will. So the will is there, and this will is a very powerful tool with which actually you can modify and move forward your life. These three factors that is existing in every human being, the intellectual ability to understand, the ability of the heart to feel, experience, from where you experience the pain and the pleasure both at one point of time or other, and the third faculty, the will, to do something. In the Vedantic conversation, they say that you have got this will, kartum, akartum, annatha kartum. You could do this way, you could refuse to do that way, or you could pick up another way to do it all the time. This kind of a individual will, that is the third faculty. And it is hard to say that one faculty at one time only will be working. All the three are actually actively participating in our life, in our waking state of our life. We have understanding about something, we love that thing, then we have got a desire or will to go forward and explore further about that thing. Or because we became interested in certain things, that is our faculty of heart, then we went forward and tried to know more about it. And this trying to know more about it, or the will to go further and explore, to understand better, brings us to better understanding. And this way, which one is first, which one is second, which one is, that might be changing at different point of time, or maybe different for different people. But it is always that one of them has to take the lead role in our life for any kind of activity or any kind of turn in our life to be given. So here is the question, that at our present state of mind, where we fail to say for sure that we understand the concept of God, we have fully, thoroughly explored and understood what is the God. In fact, it lies beyond the veil of mystery or ignorance. Really, we don't know. And they say that until and unless you have realized it firsthand, you will never know. That is the statement in the Upanishad. That only after seeing it in your direct experience, not indirect way, that you will go beyond all your doubts in your mind. Until then, you have to carry in your mind all sorts of doubts and many notions which are not true. With that you are carrying. So, full understanding is impossible at this state of mind that a devotee who has not yet realized the truth of God yet, and the touch of God that might bring to your heart the the glow of the radiance of the beauty of God or the warmth of the genuine love of God that I mentioned about that very mystic experience that the saint had, or many saints, they one point of time or other they had in their life. If you did not have that, then you cannot have these two areas in the leading role in your pursuit of loving God. The leading role cannot be your intellectual understanding. Though intellectual understanding, there are the theological books, they will tell you why God does exist. All the theologies, they try to prove it, that there, this region, therefore, it proves that there is an intelligent creator, a maker, and an administrator of this world. And he is the God. That is a theological perspective. That doesn't necessarily make everything clear to your head. It is all about the probability and the basket of probabilities. Is it what are the different reasons and chances that God does exist, and what are the cons that this is the reason that we can come to this kind of conclusion, that perhaps not, and then we find the basket of the pros that is very heavy, and therefore we vote for that. Now this is not about loving God. This intellectual conclusion, coming to an intellectual conclusion, is not the way to love God. So this is not going to lead us. It cannot take the lead role. On the other hand, the love of God, which comes from your heart, which comes in most genuine way only after some kind of a vision or first-hand experience. Until that has happened, the lead role has to be taken by the willpower that we have been provided. This is the point. This is the point what is in the meaning of what was said by that saint. He said that, the saint Thomas Aquinas said, that the way to love God is that you have to will to love God. The will has to come in the forefront. Will has got a problem. Why we don't apply will all the time? We go by our emotion in many cases, and many other time it is intellectual conclusion that this is beneficial. Let us go there. And the will that we come to a conclusion and take a judgment that this is the right thing to do. In the Katha Upanishad, when it has been said that everybody on the path of their life, they always come now and then a forking road. One is that leads them to their well-being, and another leads them to some kind of a pleasant experience. They are supposed to be taking always the right decision. It is not about pleasures, but it is about what is good for you, that you have to understand and go that direction. This we find in the Katha Upanishad. This is about application of the will. Application of the will. The pleasant things are always attracting us, calling us, come here. This is the wonderful experience you can get here and now. Whereas the way to go that will bring you the higher good, your real well-being, that may not be, the path is not that pleasant, but you have to gradually be aware of that, and will should take the leading role to take you there. This is what is being said, that of your three faculties, will is the important area with the help of which you can start loving God, to one day actually experience and feel and know God also. This will is why it is not interesting, because in the first place the will becomes very tiring. If you don't have to apply your will, then it is more like you are swayed by your impulses and your attractions of the things. You are just moved by that, and you kind of enjoy being there. So it is more attractive. Applying will is tiresome, number one. And the second reason is that applying will doesn't give you the result instantaneously. You don't get the immediate answer. Applying will on the path of devotion, how do you know what has happened to you? We have to accept the assurances and messages of the great teachers who say that yes, you are assured to get wonderful result. Just like we go to the doctor and the doctor says that I find that you have got this problem and you have to come back, there will be a 15 course of certain kind of a radiation that you have to undergo, and then it will be all cleared. And you believe in the words of the doctor and you go there and you subject yourself to that particular radiation therapy for 15 different time, and you believe that this will be cured after that. At the time of that actual operation or radiation, you don't have the experience that you have found the result, that you are cured or anything. This is the kind of thing that comes with the will. The will is never rewarding instantaneously, and will requires a different level of effort from the side of the doer, and therefore it becomes not very much applied. Most of the people, they don't apply it. They don't go for willpower to be applied in many of their areas of their life. But if we apply, then we are assured that we shall get a better benefit and we shall reach a higher position and status in our religious life. We shall really, really enjoy our religious life. The love of God will become actually within our reach if we start from there. It is like, as they say, that if you walk one step towards God, then He will come 10 steps towards you. This is said. And this is said by all great ones. But we don't see God, and we don't really know if He is coming 10 steps towards us or not. We have got very little visibility in our spiritual life. It is like playing chess against a master chess player whom you cannot see. You have to just move one chessman, and the other side he will move another chessman somewhere. The whole board is not visible, and you really are playing a kind of in the darkness. The whole board is not visible, the past is not visible, the future is not visible, only the small slit of present is lighted, and that is the chessboard, and you don't see the opponent. It is kind of that. Of course, this example is a very feeble example because it is not the case. In the case of playing chess with another chess player, your opponent is always trying to counter your move with a move so that eventually you get stuck in one position. It is called checkmate. And you are caught there and you cannot move any further. But in this case, loving God, the opponent is a great grandmaster in chess playing. His objective or reason to play chess with you here, that you move one step and he again puts another, is not to hold you checkmate. It is about make you free actually. Only problem that you are not knowing with whom you are playing and you are not knowing the entire game plan. The rules of playing this game is not also very clear to you, and with that level of almost total darkness and almost total ignorance, you are sitting across a great chess player to play with him so that with his moves he can eventually release you from the level of bondage that you are held in. It is opposite of the objective of playing chess with another player. It is a different kind of a game going on. But unless and until you keep playing chess, unless and until you keep moving your chessman one step at a time, the ability for the opposite side to accordingly move the other side towards you will not be happening. So this is what is called the will to do your part of the devotion. Sri Ramakrishna says that love God with all your sincerity. God doesn't care for whether you are capable of understanding whole lot of scriptures or not, whether you have understood God fully or not, whether you have put a whole lot of your effort or not. It is not that irrelevant in the field of God's love. What is most important to God is, all the great teachers of the path of bhakti, devotion, dualistic, they say the same thing in different language, is about your sincere love for God, and with simplicity of your heart like a child, if you can do that, then that is all that means. So here is a story I am telling to conclude my today's talk, that what Sri Ramakrishna said, that with sincerity and simplicity of a child, and your sincerity, that all that you can do, offer that to the Lord, and He is perfectly pleased. So this story was told by Anatole France long time back. He talks about a simple man many years back in a small town in Europe. He was by profession a juggler, so he would be earning his bread by doing juggling on the roadside, in marketplaces on the roadside, and people will put some coins in his hat. That was all his profession he was doing. But deep within his heart, he was deeply devoted to God. He was absolutely a devoted person. So he lived very close by a big monastery, And because he was attending occasionally their services and all those different mass and everything given, he would be attending sermons. He became slowly acquainted with the abbot of that monastery. In course of time, he became acquainted with many other monks, and he learned about their life, and he became genuinely interested in that life. So then he one day approached the abbot, requesting him that if he could join the monastery and live his life as a monk there. Abbot was pleased with this man, and he allowed him to live like a lay monastic brother there. So he entered into the monastery, and now he is living his whole life there. He was so happy in the beginning, very happy. Then he watched and observed that all the monks living in the monastery, and there were a large number of monks, think of medieval period monasteries in the Europe. He saw that all these monks and brothers, they had so wonderful qualities in them. Some were writing books, some were copying manuscripts, some were doing wonderful paintings, some were composing many hymns and prayers, some were wonderful musicians, some were doing beautiful sculpture, some were doing masonry work, repairing, in the kitchen, they were cooking. Also, they had real wonderful skill in all of them, and they were doing it as their service to the deity. The central deity in that monastery was Mother Mary, Virgin Mary. So, he watched them, and with all appreciation, and he saw they are wonderful people and they have got so much skill. And then he slowly came to realize that he could not do any of these works they are doing. He became very morose and sad from within, thinking that I am of no good, I cannot really serve Mother Mary in any way. Then all of a sudden he one day thought in his mind, well, I can go and I can entertain Mother Mary with my skill of playing jugglery. So, thinking that, but it could not be done in the open because that was absolutely a funny idea and unacceptable to a very logically doctrine church discipline. That was not true. They knew what they could do and what they could not. So, very quietly, middle of the night, he will go to the shrine, and then he started doing his jugglery, and believing that he is entertaining Mother Mary there. He was doing it so that nobody should know it, and he is doing it. But in course of time, slowly, the monks became suspect of something going on. Because if somebody will be awake and come to the shrine, and immediately all lights are off, nothing is happening, afterwards again something is happening. So people became suspect, and gradually this murmuring of that something is happening, what is going on, we should know. It reached the ears of the abbot, and he sent two elderly monks to do some spying work there, to watch what is happening. Something in the middle of the night is happening. So these two elderly, very senior monks, they came to quietly observe and know what is happening, and then they knew what is happening. So they saw that this lay brother, that earlier a juggler of the marketplace, he was there in the middle of the night. They saw that he was standing upside down on his head, and with his two hands many different knives and balls he was throwing up and down and catching them and doing all sorts of jugglery tricks there. And doing on and on and on. And they were horrified to see this. That this is absolutely, they are polluting our place, this prayer hall and this thing, this shrine. What is happening? So they were thinking in their mind that this is terrible and this is absolutely unacceptable. And they were about to return back to their abbot to report back what they saw. All of a sudden they saw a different thing. They saw that from the image of Virgin Mary, all of a sudden Mother Mary came out. And she came out, she approached to that juggler, and the juggler was, by the time, after doing that trick for such a long period of time, he was absolutely exhausted and he was sweating. And these two monks, they saw with their own eyes that Mother Mary, he wiped the sweat from the brows of this juggler with the corner of her own mantle. He wiped it and comforted the juggler and returned back there. Seeing this, they could not believe their own eyes that all their lives they have done so much of their penance and so much of their prayer and so much very great, grand religious things and piety and service and all these things. Never they had this kind of experience, and here comes a man who knows nothing of the theology and doesn't fit into their monastery in a full way, and to him the grace of the Virgin Mary coming in this way. So this is the point of the story, what Sri Ramakrishna says, that have simple faith, have this faith of a child, and then with that faith and simplicity and sincerity, apply your love towards God. That application is the will which will take you eventually to your goal. Thank you.